Across the globe, from the most urban
to the most rural of places, people have come to rely on an array of products.
behind each of these is an incredible tale of people,
This is the land of spices.
systems,
There are 287 drivers. It's a matter of supply and demand.
And global networks.
I feel like we're spreading the knowledge and the technology across the globe.
but in early 2020, our world changed.
3 cities in China are in shutdown.
First cases of coronavirus in Europe are confirmed in
All of
France.
Italy has now been placed in quarantine.
The toughest restrictions on our way of life.
Global markets plunge amid fears of a pandemic.
As countries closed borders, consumers stayed at home and trade slowed to a trickle.
It literally was like the tap was switched off.
But amidst the gloom, for some, there were glimmers of hope.
What we've transferred across to is doing some virtual tastings. It's actually a great way to interact with the consumer.
As the world adjusts to a new reality,
We revisit 8 everyday products, from bicycles to whiskey, spices to semiconductors.
To discover how our global trading networks are holding up in the age of shutdown.
We're not taking profit. We're putting everything we're getting and we're piling in to go for growth.
And how far they still have to go on the road to recovery.
It's like the bicycle chain. Each link will bring us closer to our vision.
Trade on a global scale has transformed our lives. It's meant that everything from phones to fashion, culture to computers is available to us, no matter where we are on the globe. This is especially the case with food. Across the planet, we can usually find a cuisine that originates from almost anywhere in the world. In many countries, Indian food is one of the most popular. My parents grew up in India before moving to the UK, so my childhood was spent eating wonderful Indian dishes. And the key to all of these flavors are the spices.
We have a very busy night tonight. All set?
This restaurant is one of over 300 in New York that specialize in Indian food. I dropped by in early 2019 to meet the head chef, Munipasi.
So today we make a yellow lentil. It's called dal tadka.
Dal tadka.
Yeah, it's very popular in India.
How long have you been a chef for?
Like from 10 years, I do this job.
From 10 years old?
Yeah. I never been in like cooking school. I never been there. Just my father, he teach me everything.
Wow.
So now we add cumin seeds.
And I love the smell that you
Yeah.
get when you're cooking cumin.
In this restaurant, we've made very sure that we try and get all fresh spices and we mix them ourselves. I've had Chef Manny from the day I opened this restaurant. And he's been extremely particular about the procurement. Because it's very easy to just, go get it cheaper versus paying for the quality.
And now I add the turmeric.
Ah, the key ingredient.
Yeah.
And this will really change the color, won't
Yeah.
it?
You see the color? Now it's become yellow.
And the best spices are from where for you?
From India.
From India?
Yeah, we always use all spices from India.
You can't serve amazing foods without amazing spices. I'm talking about the purity, the freshness, and the ability to get them from the soil that they really grow in. Because that's what adds the flavor to the food that one serves here.
This is the dal.
Can I have a little go?
Yeah. All right.
My mum would be very proud of me right now.
Too good.
Thank you. Thank you.
The pride in serving something which is originating in India and being served here, it's very important.
The United States has become the country that has recorded the highest number of coronavirus cases anywhere in the world.
But in March, the pandemic swept through New York, and Monica's restaurant quickly felt the pinch.
Businesses got hit really hard because you just had to close, or you were putting your employees at risk, or you were putting yourself and your guests at risk.
Monica put safety first and closed the business, but the financial implications were a huge concern.
There were so many employees that were dependent, who have families, children going to school, and that sort of just paralyzes you because you're thinking, how are you going to pay these people?
After 6 weeks, Monica reopened the restaurant for deliveries only.
So I got together with the team and I said, okay, let's go feed a few people and feel that we've done something good. So we fed our first responders, we fed a homeless shelter. And after that, if you ask me a question, how long did I think I would keep going? It was literally a month at a time.
At the end of June, Monica put 6 tables outside as it was forbidden to serve diners inside until the end of September. But many customers felt safer outside anyway.
I understand why restaurants need to open up indoor dining in order to survive. I personally will not be participating in that, but I understand that it's something that has to happen.
But how to serve customers outside in the New York winter is the next big challenge for Monica.
You have to think of creative ways of making some kind of enclosure with maybe putting a heater in there to be able to seat people, because it gets bitter cold and the wind just goes right through you. And I'm hoping whoever comes and tells me to pull it down, I'll be able to convince them that, hey, look, please allow me some space to keep my business going.
Meanwhile, support from customers provides an enormous boost.
I feel Aroqa has done a great job of meeting the demands of sort of the new era. You know, being the first restaurant we went to after, weren't really sure how to feel. It certainly inspired a lot of confidence in us to come back here and just venture out in general.
The appetite for food flavored with Indian spices has meant the global trade for spices is growing and has increased every year for the last quarter of a century.
India is at the center of the spice trade. Half of all the world's spices come from here. And in June this year, India's exports were up by 23% on 2019. Mumbai is India's largest city, and much local business is done at huge markets like this one, Nal Bazaar.
Wow. You have to love the absolute vibrancy of these colours and 1, 2, 3, 4 different kinds of chilies. We've got some beautiful cones of turmeric, red chili here, and some coriander powder as well.
This is the oldest meat and vegetable market in Mumbai.
Deepa Krishnan is a former economist and has studied the spice industry.
Why do spices seem to have this central place in Indian culture and cuisine?
Well, we've always been central to the spice trade. This is the land of spices. More fortunes have been made with spices than any other commodity that I can think of.
The spice trade began 5,000 years ago, stretching from India to China and Southeast Asia, and west to Arabia and North Africa. And 500 years ago, the Europeans became interested in the spice routes. They shipped exotic spices back to their home countries, where they fetched huge prices.
What the spice trade did was it not just created an exchange of spices along these routes, but also an exchange of people. These merchants from around the world settled. They were Armenian people, they were Arabic people, there were people from Egypt, people from Rome. We've seen the presence of all these communities in India, and they have influenced ideas, they've influenced thoughts, they've influenced the cuisine as well.
This ancient product is now more in demand than ever. A multi-billion-dollar worldwide industry creating jobs across a range of economic sectors, including agriculture, manufacturing, food production, and healthcare. After independence in 1947, the Indian government encouraged growth in the spice industry, enabling many small farms to flourish. To see what Indian spices are really all about, you have to leave the hustle and bustle of the city and come to the steep hills of Kerala. In India's deep south, close to the equator, the sunshine, coupled with 2 monsoon seasons in June and October, make Kerala perfect spice-growing country. I paid a visit in 2019.
Hi.
Abraham.
Oh.
How are you?
I am fine.
Abraham Kulamachel's farm was founded by his grandfather.
See, this is the first tree planted in the garden.
The first tree in your spice garden?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a jackfruit tree planted by my grandfather in the year 1952.
If your grandfather could see this now...
He would be very happy.
Abraham's farm is a typical size for farms in India, 2/3 of which are usually small scale, just over 1 hectare each.
See the nutmeg tree, you see the nutmeg growing.
There it is. Lots of lovely turmeric.
Pepper. If you would like to try some, you can try.
You're giving me a challenge, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's really nice. There's a beautiful sweet initial taste, and then after that, a little kick.
That kick is the pepper kick.
That's what you... Oh, and it's just gone to the back of my throat.
Curry leaf. And it is very good for digestion, antioxidant, many properties.
But there's one spice that's crucial to his business. Cardamom, the queen of spices.
Cardamom is considered the queen of spice. Cardamom is our main crop. Actually indigenous to this area. The best cardamom in the world grows here.
How many people are you employing to grow?
Sometimes almost 50 people per day.
Nearly 1/3 of India's workforce work in agriculture. Kartika is one of the cardamom pickers who make their living working here.
இது கரெக்ட் பருவமுள்ள காய் நல்ல விளைஞ்ச காய் இதை தான் நம்ம எடுக்கணும் சீசனில் வந்து எத்தனை கிலோன்னு இல்லை சிலப்போ 30-40 கிலோ கூட எடுத்துருவோம் காய் அதிகமாக இருக்கிறனால.
Does working here provide a good living?
ஏகதேசம் உள்ள ஃபேமிலி வந்து இந்த கார்டமம் இந்த ஸ்பைசஸ் வச்சு தான் அவங்க ஃபேமிலியே முன்னோட்டு போகுது. எல்லாருக்கும் வந்து படித்த ஜாபில் நின்று வேலை செய்ய முடியாதுல்ல. இப்படி உள்ள ஜாபுக்கு இருக்கிறனால அவங்க ஃபேமிலியான குட் ஃபேமிலியாக போகுது. தென்
நீங்களும் பண்ணுங்க.
ரொம்ப ஹாப்பி, சந்தோஷமாக இருக்குது, ரொம்ப ஹாப்பியாக இருக்குது. காலையில் வர்றோம், ஈவினிங் போகிறோம், ஃபுல் டைம் இந்த காட்டில் நாங்கள் ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணுறோம். எங்களுக்கு இந்த காடு ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும். ஏன்னா ஆளுகளோட எல்லாரும் கூட நின்று ஹாப்பியாக வேலை செஞ்சுட்டு
So, all of these tons of cardamom that you grow here, what happens next? Where does it go?
E-auction.
E-auction?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Big merchants all will come and take into auction. And we can see it in the mobile. If the price is not apt for us, we will say, don't sell it.
A whole host of factors affect the price of spices like cardamom. If the weather means a low crop whilst consumer demand is high, the price can soar. At the moment, is it a profitable industry to be in?
It is profitable now. Cardamom is the most profitable spice, easy to grow here in this area. But if the price goes down, it's a big loss.
In August 2019, average cardamom prices in India hit a record high of around $63 per kilo due to a delay in the harvest and a severe shortage. But only a few months later, the spice market was turned upside down. When India locked down in March, the entire population were ordered to stay in their homes for 21 days. Buses and trains were suspended across the country. Many migrant workers began to walk home, desperate to return to their families after finding themselves out of work and money. And Kerala, the state where Abraham's farm is located, is now dealing with the repercussions of this exodus.
The workers, many of them went to Tamil Nadu. Because of the COVID, they couldn't come back. So they still stay there. Half of my workers couldn't come. And so we have a scarcity of workers. So the work is not finishing, not continuing very well. We must do certain work in a particular period. Harvest, we must do every month. So when a harvest is not done, no yield comes.
COVID has also put a stop to tourists visiting the farm.
When tourists are not coming, then they have no chance to buy. Sales direct from my farm dropped to nothing. So we sell only in a big quantity to the auction only.
But despite all the disruption to business, Abraham is confident about future prospects.
The price will increase, demand for spice will increase, and we will have a very good future.
As the global demand for spices has continued to rise, the Indian economy has not only stepped up its ability to grow spice crops, it's also expanded its processing and export capability. Once they've been harvested, spice crops from around India then come to factories like this one, run by Synthite near the Keralan city of Kochi. I met Managing Director Dr. Viju Jacob in 2019.
Hi, Finn.
What can we see here?
We are doing extraction of turmeric and ginger.
There are now nearly 1,300 spice exporting companies in India. Synthite is one of the largest, and it's a really good example of the way that the Indian spice industry has grown over the last 50 years.
When we started the company in 1972, we got only 10 employees and one product. Now we are a $280 million company. We have about 3,000 employees and 500 different varieties of products.
They process over 84,000 tons of raw spices every year, turning them into powders and flavored oils to season our food.
US and Europe are highly concentrating on the turmeric.
Right, US and Europe are the chief markets.
Yeah.
Other countries are now farming more of some varieties of spices than India. Vietnam is now the world's leading grower of black pepper. But India has the expertise and the infrastructure to process them. It now imports over $750 million worth of raw spices annually from other parts of the world.
Pepper is coming from Vietnam and Indonesia and Sri Lanka. And turmeric is coming from India and other part of the country.
One of the most important parts of processing happens in the quality control room. So where's the product going in? It's going into this?
Into this machine.
Kind of looks like a photocopier.
Correct.
But you're putting spice extracts
exactly.
in the top?
And it will give the peaks, and from these peaks, our people will be able to read whether they can clear it.
As consumers from across the world use more and more spices in their food, the demand for them to meet strict health and safety regulations imposed by bodies like the EU and the US Food and Drug Administration has increased.
We need to have a clear, 100% perfect product. So we have to have a thorough checking on the raw material, about the quality, about the pesticide, about the residual solvent in it. Everything has to be checked.
When the pandemic hit India, Dr. Viju's company was able to continue production as an essential industry. The demand for its products has gone up, and it's taken on around 200 more staff.
I would say this was the best year that we had. Our business is growing because of the high usage of the spices in Europe and in US.
The science isn't proven, but spices have long had a reputation for boosting immune levels. That, combined with a boom in demand for healthy cook-at-home ingredients, has helped to push up India's spice exports.
In India, it's a traditional way of using spices as a medicine to prevent a disease, to prevent an inflammation on your body. People are really feeling that immunity levels goes up by eating more spices, and that's all that you need at this pandemic time.
Dr. Viju's factory is well located to meet the increased global demand for spices.
Once the spices are processed and packaged, they're ready for export to destinations around the world. Traditionally, they were shipped from here, at Kochi, or Cochin as it was long known. This is a port whose architecture reveals the influence of foreign powers across the centuries. The Chinese, the Portuguese, the Dutch, and the British. And still today, at the modern container port across the water there, spices set forth from Kochi to the world.
They're shipped to 140 different countries in every part of the globe, with the USA, Vietnam, and China the biggest buyers.
And despite the pandemic, Monica in New York has been able to get a constant supply of the Indian spices she needs for her dishes, determined to keep her restaurant going.
I'm hoping life will get back to some kind of normal, if not normal. So where my brain tells me you need to really seriously think, the heart says it'll be okay. So what do? I just keep going.
From turmeric to cardamom, it's clear that the old trade of the famous spice trail is as alive today as it was in the past, allowing Monica's customers in New York to enjoy a warming taste of India.
For more on the products shaping our global economy, go to bbc.com/madeonearth.